All right. Woo! Okay, hey people. Welcome to the newest episode of Just My Opinion. I am the Spiritual Studd.
And I am M.T, baby.
And we got some things to talk about today.
Boy, do we.
Yeah. So, we're just going to go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Let's go local first.
Okay, let's do local.
Local.
So, once upon a time in Olathe, Kansas, there was this lady, and her name is Joanne Clausen, K-L-A-A-S-E-N.
Okay.
And this lady became a lawyer.
All right.
And she became the president of the Kansas Board of Nursing.
Well,
But Ms. Clausen has some very misguided ideas about the LGBTQIA community.
All right.
So, people I know, and little birdie got in my ear and told me about this lady. And in a recent Olathe Board Council meeting, she made some, let's just say they were controversial comments about something that she was absolutely ignorant about.
well,
So the purpose of the vote in this particular council meeting was the non-discrimination ordinance, okay? And that basically means you can't fire or you can't evict somebody based upon the fact of their sexual orientation or their gender.
yeah.
If you do, you can be fined up to $500, which I think is really mild, but you know, hey, that's just me. At least they're doing something, because baby, we got a long way to go. Okay, so what happened was Miss Clausen had some comments about this non-discrimination ordinance. And this is it's about to get funny, so hold on. Whew, I'm gonna try not to laugh my way all the way through this. But what happened was the people that are on the right believe that their religious liberties are being stepped on by this ordinance. We've heard this argument several times. They think that if you put this ordinance into effect, that means that, you know, apartment owners will be forced against their God-given right to discriminate to allow LGBTQIA people into their buildings. Or companies will be forced to not fire people when they come out.
Yeah.
How horrible, okay? Or risk being fined. So what she said was, and she had the story wrong, which I will explain. She was concerned about the recent incident in Colorado about a certain active dildo cake.
Active
an active dildo cake.
Well.
And a baker in an incident in Colorado had to go to court because he refused to make a cake. Now this is the kicker. Guess who ordered the cake? It wasn't the LGBT community. The Satanist ordered the cake. It wasn't even us. Not saying that it's something we wouldn't do, but I'm just saying it wasn't even us. And they did it to prove a point. I mean, honestly, who wants an active dildo cake? I don't. You want one? Because I really don't want that.
No.
You know, cheesecake, maybe. You know, carrot cake, yes. Active dildo cake, no. That's not what I'm trying, no. So anyway, but she had crossed her wires and was talking about, as usual, things she don't know nothing about. And, you know, this just further highlights the ignorance that flows so freely through our society about what the LGBT mission is equality. Bottom line is equality. Now the Satanists were trying to prove a point by asking this baker to make this cake, which he refused to, and of course it had to go through courts. But this is like, I keep saying this, and I guess I'll just be saying it till my dying breath. I don't care. And I say I shouldn't care. I shouldn't say I don't care. if you want to have beliefs that are discriminatory and hateful, that's your business. You can do that all day long. Do you, boo. But what you can't do is put people in positions of authority over people's ideas about equality. Because what happens is that, we've said it before on this show, the doctor who has strong religious beliefs, and here with my beautiful lesbian self come into the ER, and then, you know, I'm bleeding to death, but you don't want to help me because I'm gay.
Yeah.
Or the trans man who goes to get an apartment and is refused an application because he's trans. You know what I'm saying? Like, this kind of stuff, people have to live. People have to live. They have to work. They have to live. Guess what else they have to do? They have to use bathrooms. Because that was another argument that Miss Clausen tried to make, was that, you know, the bathroom bill. Here we are back again with this bathroom nonsense. You know, and where people go to relieve themselves. And that we don't want men in the bathroom with women. Y'all made a thing that wasn't a thing. Y'all been going to the bathroom with transgendered people since the beginning of transgendered people, which is forever. How is it now a thing that you're so scared of? You know what I mean? There wasn't even an incident that I can recall that sparked this off. But all of a sudden it's a thing now. I don't want transgendered men showering in where I go to the gym at with me. Baby, they don't want you. They don't want you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we keep telling people this is about equality. I have the right to go to the gym. You have the right to go to the gym. A trans man, a bisexual person, an intersex person, they all have a right to go to the same gym. I have a right to work for a living. And see, this is the counter argument. Before I, we were just talking about privileges, and this is the thing. Y'all, as Republicans and people on the right, can't stand welfare, right?
Right.
They are up in arms that Bernie and the rest of these Democratic presidential people are going to just throw away their money and give it all to the poor. That's what they're afraid of. They don't want welfare. They don't want programs that help people who aid people who need financial assistance. They don't want food stamps. They don't want none of that. They feel like, get out there and work for yourself. Well, how can you, if you are an LGBTQIA person, go work for yourself when you're in fear of being fired for being yourself?
Right.
And you have absolutely no job security. A lot of these states are at will, fire at will. So you can't have both sides of the coins, because what you will create, and I'm not saying this to be inciting, but what you will create is desperation, more desperation in people who are already desperate. And let me tell you how that's going to work out for you. One little last side note. Way back in the day, when America was young and we became an industrialized civilization, and we stopped using horses and buggies and started driving cars, and factories popped up everywhere, building things and making things. What happened was there was a population, a segment of the population who was poor, who couldn't work, who were unhealthy, unwell, ostracized, whatever, this little group of minority people. And they went out and were cast out into the streets. A lot of them were homeless. A lot of them were orphaned. You know, we started building orphanages. And what happened was the poor was taken care of by the kindness of strangers. The Catholic Church set up orphanages. Missionaries were out there, people were begging, remember, for the alms for the poor. Okay, so what happened was those poor people were being taken care of. But what happened was the people who owned the businesses did not want to see the poor people buy their businesses, because the poor people would come out and they would beg as the people were going into the different businesses. So actually what developed the current welfare system is that we've lost our traditional ways of taking care of our sick and elderly and disabled and people who can't care for themselves.
Right.
People cannot work. That's why we established Medicare and welfare and food stamps and school lunch programs to help those help themselves that were poor and in need. Now I know that some people take advantage of the system.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of complaint is on the right.
Yeah.
Is that people are, but I just saw recently a picture of 100 women who had taken advantage of the Medicare system to the tune of hundreds of thousands, I think upwards of millions of dollars. Guess what color they were? They weren't black. So what happens is when you have a group of people who are desperate, who are impoverished, who cannot get up on their own feet and work, you end up with the situation like what we have in California, where greed is taken over and people are in homeless camps. People are living out of RVs and setting up tent cities.
Yeah.
Because we are no longer taking care of the least of them,
Right.
of the poor. And they have to exist. They have to exist. These poor people are not going to, in droves, kill themselves.
Right.
They're not going to, in droves, violently take over. So they have to exist. So what are we going to do as Americans to solve this problem? Because that's what you're forcing many in the LGBT community to do. If you keep resisting equality, which is a basic human right, the right to go pee, the right to poop, the right to work, the right to, pay my taxes and attend city hall meetings and go to gyms. If you deny us these rights and you force us into situations where we are impoverished, what do you think is going to happen? It's not going to get better for you. Because those same people that back in the 1800s, they didn't want to see hanging around businesses, where do you think they're going to go? Why do you think so many transgendered people are in the streets? Homeless. Because ignorance and stupidity is keeping them from housing and keeping them from jobs. My last point, because it gets me fired up. I had a transgender editor for one of my books. I met this young woman, older woman, at an event and found out she was an editor, and I was excited. I was like, oh, I need an editor. This is awesome. So when I met with her and I heard her story, she used to be, before she transitioned, one of the major editors for a major company.
Wow.
Editing like textbooks and stuff like that. Like top-notch level. Was making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. But when I met her after she transitioned, she was barely surviving. Because she was stripped of her job. Fortunately, she had purchased her home. But still paying taxes on that house.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, and what changed? What changed for the person that she worked for? Besides the fact that she became her more authentic self. She's still an editor. She didn't lose any editing skills by transitioning. You know what I'm saying? So when you do stuff like this to people, you force them in desperation situations. And desperate people do desperate things.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that to be insightful, but I'm saying that we've got to evolve as human beings. And stop playing around with semantics when these are human lives that deserve way more than what we're giving them. Okay.
Well,
and scene. Cut.
I have a problem because those on the right like to say that America is a Christian nation. That is head in the sand if I ever heard it. How, first of all, can you call this a Christian nation when it was gotten by breaking one of the 10 Commandments? Thou shalt not steal. Not that it was just stolen, but you gave trusting people diseases so you could take what they had. And not only that, but you forced them to walk hundreds of miles, which you knew would kill most of them. Now, I'm not saying you in the present tense, but your ancestors. Let's be real. This is not a Christian nation. I can say that as of today. Okay, I don't even have to look back. I can say today, basically because the Christ that you are supposed to be following and representing would not know you. If you were to die and you believe the word and Jesus met you at the gate, the Bible says he would say, I don't know you. And you would say, but I did this and that and the other. My money went to the homeless. But you didn't really care about the homeless. It was a tax write-off. I'm not saying that all of you who have money don't care. I'm not saying that. Let me not generalize. But what I am saying is this. The thought that this is a Christian nation and yet we can still do the dirt that we do is pervasive. You are allowing this earth to be plundered until she is fighting back now. She's going to get rid of human beings like she got rid of the dinosaurs. It's just the planet's way. And if you don't fight for me, you're fighting against me. And we as human beings are fighting against the very thing that the God you say you believe in. You got it on your money. In God we trust. That's wrong. You should just say, in money we trust. Because this country was not built on God. It was built on money and the desire for money. The desire for more and more and more and more and more. And we are in a more and more and more and more generation. But the generation after us is saying, no. Now, I'm not saying all of them are not spoiled, and you know there are some that's spoiled and rotten and all that other stuff. There are some that wear the MAGA hats and support Trump, and that's their right. But all in all, what you're doing is you're continuing to set up systems to make it difficult for minorities to live. That's to vote. That's to walk, walking while black, drinking water while black, barbecuing while black, going into my house while black, picking up trash around my house while black. All these things, we get the law called on us for. Just for living.
For living, existing.
Now, trans women coming up dead, left and right. Gay guys getting beat up. Just a story the other day about a young man and his brother. Just gang of kids jumping on him. A gang of teenage boys jumped on him. Now the older brother was gay. The younger brother was not. Now he's carrying that guilt because, hey, my brother got beat up because he was with me. This hate, it had to be unveiled. Y'all waiting on the apocalypse. Do you know what apocalypse means? Do you know what revelation means? Unveiling. That means that everything that you have covered up, and everything that's been covered up is now being revealed, and it's up to us what we're gonna do about that.
Come on, preach up.
I can't tell y'all what to do, cause you're not listening anyway. But what I would say is, if you are really believing that this is a Christian nation, I would suggest that you go back to the Gospels and read about the Jesus that you purport to follow. Not just about him, but sit with him sometime and see how he taught and what he did to help people. Folks that didn't have no food, he said, you know what, little boy, go get that little boy's food and let's bless it.
Yes.
And then we can share. All this stuff that y'all trying to hold on to, you're holding on so tight. You're not representing Jesus. I don't know who you represent, but it ain't that one. It ain't that one. Because a lot of people want to say, well, Jesus ain't this goody two shoes. Everybody want to say he is. I don't know what book they read. He did get angry. He had a right. Yeah. He had a right to get angry. But the people that he hung with, the women that he gave spots to, that he gave his ear to, the tax collector, the Samaritan woman that he should not have even been talking to. Y'all, you guys are really lost. You're really lost. And a lot of the losers are the ones in the pulpits preaching this stuff, saying because God created a man and a woman, God created marriage. I don't think that's in the Bible anywhere.
Adam and Eve weren't married.
I don't think that's in there. But the perfect, but what do they want to call it? The perfect, I can't think of it now. But the thing that God, you say God created, right? Man, woman, and children. Focus on the family. Well, focus on the family. Y'all got a lot of hidden gay people supporting you. All these Christian organizations, it's a lot of hidden gay people supporting you. Chick-fil-A got a lot of hidden gay people eating their chicken. My wife loves Chick-fil-A, but she don't go there because I told her I'm not spending money for somebody to discriminate against me and mine. So it's not happening.
Same here. I don't even like chicken sandwiches, so there.
Well, I gotta tell you before I found out who they were. When they first moved into our area, they came to my job with boxes of chicken sandwiches. I got hooked. And I'm gonna tell you, they got some of the best spicy chicken sandwiches. But again, if I don't stand up for my people, who will? I'm not gonna give you my hard-earned money just because I like your chicken sandwich. I can make my own chicken sandwich. Thank you, and put a pickle on it. I could go on and on about this, as you can tell. But one last thing.
Okay.
For all y'all that don't like gay people, all y'all saying stuff about us, we pay taxes. Now, if you don't want us in your country, if you don't want us around, stop taking that money. I can do much with my tax money. I don't need it.
Can I?
Right. I can take some of that tax money, invest it, and do some things.
That's the truth.
Y'all always want to act like you guys are the only one doing things. People around here working for $9, $10 an hour, paying taxes, just like you pay taxes. We might not have as much money, but we still have to pay.
Yes.
Some Sam comes for his. I don't like it. I don't do without it. But I'm just saying, we count. We matter. On that subject.
Well, let's see. Last but not least. So I decided to do a little sample social experiment.
I almost responded, but then I was like, nope, I'm part of the show.
A little sample
Yeah.
of a question, because we all know, if you watch the news lately, that Justin Trudeau got called out for doing blackface, for having blackface. And it wasn't just one incident, it was more than one.
Justin.
It was like after the first video came out, next thing you know, they remixing. They done put 2-3 more videos out. And so he came out and he had an apology. And it was a long and, oh, I did not know the history of racism. It was, scripted, I'm sure. But the thing that he said that for some reason just stuck with me was, I'm sorry for the pain that I have caused. And I thought to myself, do I feel pain because he did blackface? And then I thought, that's not an accurate emotion to describe how I feel. Because when I see and have seen people in blackface, pain is not what I feel. I feel irritated. I feel pissed off. I feel angry.
Yep.
Like annoyed.
Right.
I feel like it's stupid. Like there's a lot of things, of adjectives that can go in there.
Yep.
But pain is not one of them. I don't feel painful. I feel like, once again, how long? And so my little social experiment, I asked just a little group of people on my Facebook friends, those who wouldn't mind commenting, black people, people of color, how do you feel when you see blackface? Like, what emotion do you tap into when, does pain get it? Like, is that a good description? So I noticed something really amazing to me. So I have people, and I got a really good sample. If you were listening, if you were on to that, thank you for that, because it really opened my eyes.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So I have people young. I think my youngest was my niece, and she's like 20-ish, maybe. Sorry, Shay, if TT don't know. And then I had people older. And so there was one divide. The one divide was older people were more agitated. The younger the person, the less agitated. And I'm like, I've always questioned, like, whether or not, as we get to 2020 and further out in these years, how younger people perceive things like this that were like historical. Like, do they still feel some type of way like the old schoolers do? That was one divide between people of color. The other divide was how they saw blackface and the history of it.
Okay.
Some people thought that the history of blackface was like, what's that quote about flattery?
Oh, imitation
like
is the greatest form of flattery.
Exactly. Some people, actually somebody posted that. Some people said that the history that they knew of blackface caused them to be more agitated and annoyed. And again, that was divided actually by the color of a person's skin.
Wait.
I noticed that brown people who were lighter skinned saw it that they were more as flattery and were less bothered by it than people of darker skin tones.
Okay.
So I was like, this interesting. Because in 2019, excuse me if I sneeze. Come on. Woo, sorry.
Bless you.
Okay. So in 2019, here we are. We know that blackface got its history in 1830s. I'm sorry. It probably is going to be 3 sneezes, y'all. Forgive me in advance. 1930s is when blackface came up. One of my Facebook friends posted about vaudeville.
There it is.
There's the third one. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so, excuse me. The vaudeville. So, in 1830 in New York, the actors got together and started putting together the blackface that we now see, is such a problem, or not a problem, depending on where you are.
Yeah.
What I realized that I don't think people understood the history of blackface and why it's so offensive to black people. Like, Blackface was used as a weapon against black people and poor whites. Because these minstrel shows were entertainment for poor whites. Mm-hmm. And the people who controlled the show wanted poor whites to feel superior to black people.
Right.
So the characters were exaggerated stereotypes of blackness.
Yeah.
They were black, super dark skinned. They used shoe polish.
Yeah. There
was exaggerated features, lips and noses and ears. They portrayed them as lazy, ignorant, superstitious, and hypersexual. And this was all by the powers that be in an effort to make poor white people feel superior over blacks. Yeah. Look at those ignorant black folk. You know, shucking and jiving and dancing for, you know. But you have to understand that the black people during that time of the 1830s, they were struggling still to find a way to have some type of identity. Because when you're stolen from your culture, you're losing your identity. You lost your language. I could do a whole show about hair. You know, we were made fun of for our hair. We were called pickaninnies and everything like that. Then when the white women saw that their men wanted black women, we were forced to cover our hair. And then we couldn't even cover it with beautiful, ornate, decorated stuff. We had to use turbans and rags and whatever cloth was left over.
Yeah.
And that was actually regulated. So it's like, I think it bothers me, because this is just my opinion.
Okay.
I think what bothers me the most, I expect ignorance to do what ignorant does, no matter who it is, whether it's black, white, whatever. I expect ignorant people to do ignorant things. What Justin Trudeau did was ignorant. It was stupid. It was really stupid for you to not know that history. And if you did know the history and you were lying about it, to think you could get away with doing it and it would never affect you in your life. But what bothers me is that brown people so often don't, I mean, it was kind of 50-50 on my little social experiment about who was bothered and who wasn't. But brown people, I think, have gotten to a complacency about disrespect. And I'm not blaming brown people, I'm pointing it out because that's a problem. Because when we see a young black man that's been shot and killed by the police, collectively, we as brown people grieve. Collectively, we experience that trauma together. It's not just that one young black man's parents that grieve. All of us together. When we hear about a shooting of an officer, what do we say? Hope it wasn't brown.
Right.
And that's because we've been conditioned in a way to think about ourselves and about oppression that a certain complacency with it. Just like what blackface was used to keep poor whites feeling superior to other people, I think we as brown people have gotten too complacent with disrespect. That's what the social experience proved to me. Is that we have so much, and I'm like I said, this is not a blame game. I'm not pointing the finger at you and say, getting your life together. And what I'm saying is that what it showed me, I believe, that we have a problem because collective trauma has caused us to be complacent about people disrespecting us. It was disrespectful what he did. That's why it pissed me off. And the fact that it doesn't piss off other people bothers me. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because I'm like, if people can continually get away with disrespecting us, And not being, they apologized, and yes, there was pushback. Trust me, there was pushback. Like, folks was calling for him to resign, all kinds of stuff. But in my circle and in my community, I'm seeing people like, it annoyed me, or it doesn't bother me at all. And that's trauma. That's trauma that's telling you you're okay with the fact somebody is being disrespectful to your race. That's what's speaking. Just like a woman who's abused and she lives with her abuser, she or he lives with the abuser, and your friends and your family point out to you, hey, you should get away from that abuser, because they're not treating you right. They're being disrespectful. They're disrespecting you and your body and your person. And that person that is being abused is living in a traumatic situation, and they can't really see. They think, oh no, it's fine, it's okay. He only does it once in a while. She only does it, it's okay. It is never okay for us to be disrespected. Period. I don't care. I really don't care how people, and I'm working on this, so maybe by the next podcast I'll get I'm trying to be more tactful, if you can't tell. And this is me being good. But what I don't care about anymore is your tears and your fragility. Because I don't have the luxury of fragility.
Yeah.
I have to protect my person. I have to love myself. I have to love my community first. And in the process, I can reach across and help and love other people.
Yeah.
But if I don't love me and respect me and stop tolerating disrespect, I can't expect other people to do the same. So I just, last point. My grandma, when I was a little girl, I used to, you know how little kids sing little fun songs or whatever?
Yeah.
And the song, eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Yeah.
Catch a tiger by his toe. That word wasn't tiger, right? It was the N word.
I didn't when I was singing it.
Well, my grandma pulled my coattail real quick.
The teacher pulled mine.
Did, okay.
I wasn't, you know what I was saying?
Mm-hmm.
Catch a nickel.
A nickel.
I said a nickel. Mm-hmm. And she stopped me in a hurry, and it was a white teacher.
Mm-hmm.
She said, we don't say that. And I was like, what did I say? You know, but she was thinking I knew what the word. I didn't never know that it was that. Mm-hmm. Even after she corrected me, I didn't know, because she didn't say what the word was. And I don't know I didn't know which word was wrong. Mm-hmm. So for a long time, I had no clue that the N word was the word.
Was in there.
Yep.
And I say that because I feel like young people, we have served you a little bit of disjustice by not passing down what my grandmother taught to me. I knew at a very young age that little kid's song came from a minstrel show, came out of Blackface. They sang that song and other songs about darkies and everything else to make fun of us and to call us these things. And I knew that when I was really, really young. So it stayed with me, and it helped shape me for who I am. And yes, I am way more than my blackness or my lesbianness or my greatness or my whatever. But I tell you what, it has caused me to understand where the lines and the boundaries are.
Yeah.
And the boundary is, if you disrespect me, I will speak out about it. And so I feel like we've got to start educating people about history, the real history.
Yeah.
Not the stuff they sugarcoat and put in textbooks, but what really happened and what is really happening. So that kids don't grow up delusional and thinking that it's nothing wrong with blackface. It doesn't bother you. Yeah. It's disrespectful. Right. What he did was disrespectful. Otherwise, he wouldn't have apologized. So I just say all that to say that, you know, it is our purpose in this infotainment podcast to have some fun. You know, we joke, we laugh, and to bring some good information. But I'm going to make sure that in the future we also keep educating people and make education a big component of what we do. Because I don't think people really know. And if you don't know, you will allow things that should never be allowed.
True. So, all right. So let's start with this.
Yes.
Wanda Sykes has on her comedy show. I listened to it like several times, and she talks about how when she was little, her mother would not let them dance. And they were driving one day in the car, and the song came on, and they were like, "Oh," they was dancing and stuff. And Mama stopped the car and said, "You want to dance? You want to ride?" And they didn't understand. And she said, "White folks are looking at you."
Looking at you, yes.
And she said, "I looked around, and she was right. White folks was looking at me." And then she got older, and you know she got her money and everything, but she wanted a watermelon. And she like, she ain't gonna go and buy no big watermelon for your entertainment.
Right.
I'm gonna take my, over to the salad bar and get me some cut out watermelon. But the thing was, her mother had put that in her, that you have to act a certain way. You can't get, even buying a whole watermelon was participating in the stereotype. I didn't think anything about it. When we grew up, we give whole watermelons out the truck, sit out there in the yard, eat them, spit seeds everywhere. That's what we did. You know, I grew up in the South. Didn't think anything about it, but in my neighborhood it was all black. We was all doing the same thing. But
there wasn't no white folk watching you.
It wasn't. But it reminded me of something when I was at the store and I was in the watermelon box looking for a good watermelon. This old white man come up to me and said, "They look good, don't they?" I said, "Yes, sir, they do." Okay, moving on. But we have, those of us at a certain age, have that in our heads.
Yes.
That white folks are watching. You have to act a certain way. We've been acting for years.
Whoa, you better tell it.
What you all don't understand is we don't have the freedom to be who we are at all times. We play charades. Who are you today?
Code switch.
Absolutely. We have to be a certain way in certain environments. And it's not easy being us.
Because you're always a representative.
And we're always on. When are you not on? When you go in your house and close the door, you're not on. Because around there, you're in safe space. But outside, that's how it is at my job. I'm on. Even though I love my job and I love my coworkers, but it's only 3 dots in that whole mashed potato. Right. So for us, it's like you're always on. The one thing about Justin Trudeau is that I really didn't see a lot of the dance. I saw like pictures of it. That don't bother me. What I will say is when I watch actual footage of Blackface is when it irritates me. Because then I'm taken to a space where we didn't have any power to stop that. We were just victim to it. And people actually wanted to believe that. That's how they are, you know. I don't. Let me say it. My wife and I had this conversation. When I was growing up, and even today, you will find black folks and black children dressing up as superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
Most superheroes are white, but we never painted our faces to be that color.
Mm-hmm.
We just put on the cape.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if people didn't know who you were, when you tell them, who you supposed to be? Superman.
Right, right.
Wonder Woman.
Batman.
I'm supposed to be Bionic Man. You know, I mean, that's what we did. And that's what our kids do. So why is it that they feel like they have to paint their faces to fulfill a role? You know, yes, you are actors and actresses because they do it, you know, on Halloween but you don't have to do that.
Right.
If you want to be somebody black, you don't have to paint your face. There's other things that you can do. Be creative. Come on, people. Make your costume authentic. You don't have to. You don't have to wear blackface or brown face. You don't. That's just the way it is. You don't have to do it. Because black folks are looking at you.
Okay. Okay, yes we are. Yes we are.
Secondly,
we will call you out.
Secondly, when you used to we were talking about the complacency, and you went to my point, which I was going to get to, was the trauma.
Yeah.
That's why our brains are computers, and it will put your little thought in a box somewhere and say, you don't need to deal with this right now.
Right now, yeah.
This is not important. Oh, he dressed up in black. Okay, click, click.
Right, that's true.
That's how it is. And that's why a lot of us aren't bothered by it. Because we have something inside us that wants to protect us. Because if we had to address every bit of trauma that we go through,
baby,
you're talking about a bunch of psychopaths out here.
True that.
Bunch of psychopaths. Because we got so much trauma within us. Y'all lucky this America ain't bombed up. I'm just not saying do it. I'm not saying
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Go to therapy.
Please.
Take your meds.
Please.
Don't do it.
I'm just saying we have to be careful about how we do things, because a lot of times there's triggers. And you never know what's going to set somebody off. Again, black folks are watching you. Just remember that.
That's a great point.
I mean, you know, we count. Brown people are watching you.
Yeah.
Little kids are watching you.
Right.
And if you don't make this important, the one thing, this is going to be my last point, with that 3-year-old in our house, always going to be a lot of black history.
Oh, yeah.
Because she needs to know. You're not gonna be able to let people slide.
Right.
Because what's happening right now is a bunch of slide.
Yeah, it is.
Like slide on through here, slide on by. Justin Trudeau made a name for himself by being very progressive. Out there in the LGBT pride parade, I mean, he was really doing the thing. And I did wonder who did this to him. I asked, like, I'm trying to find out who did this. Because all of a sudden, I mean, it wasn't there when he first ran. Now all of a sudden, here it is.
He did it to himself.
You know what I'm saying.
I know.
But that's all I got to say on that situation. I just looked at it like another one.
Bites the dust.
That is. Dun, dun, dun. Another one bites the dust. Dun, dun, dun. Another one bites the dust. And another one down. And another one down. Another one bites the dust. Hey.
Another one bites the dust.
And. That was fun. All right.
Can we tell them what we're gonna do next?
Go for it.
Yay! All right. So, in an effort to bring more education infotainment to you good peoples, we are going to start a series on a very serious topic, but we ain't gonna take it too seriously sometimes. And that is sex. We're gonna talk about sex. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that can be. Let's talk about sex. Anywho, so we're gonna break it down from the nitty to the gritty. From the rooter to the tutor. We're gonna break it all the way down. Because what I realized in some conversations is that people are woefully unaware of some new information about our bodies and some old information about our bodies. So you get ready for that, because it's going to be super interesting and it's going to be a series.
Yoo-hoo!
Yep.
I have some toys up in here. Oh.
Get to go shopping.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're done.
You're done.
I'm done.
Get her done.
Stick a fork in her. We want to thank you guys for listening, for watching. We appreciate you. I am the Spiritual Stud.
And I am MT, baby.
And we are out of here. Peace.
Peace.